Thousands of people took part in a pro-Palestine demonstration in London today, to the anger of many, it has to be said, just a couple of weeks after the sickening Hamas assault on Israel. But Reem Ibrahim says the right to free speech must be unassailable, even if you don't agree with what they're saying. It's high time we live the Reem.
Thank you, Darren. Now, I believe in the fundamental freedom of expression. I think that when we're looking at across the world in which countries have descended to authoritarianism, they tend to stop allowing freedom of expression. Now, I completely understand that many individuals are incredibly upset as a result of various different protests. This particular phrase that's been used time and time again during these protests, Palestine will be free, and this idea that actually it's from the river to the sea. Now, this particular quote has resulted in a lot of hate online, a lot of people saying that this particular phrase should actually be banned. Many people that are usually on my side of the argument, many people that actually usually argue for free speech, have now descended into arguing for the complete decimation of this kind of individual freedom. Now, I would argue that I would like to see any individual that supports potentially proscribed terrorist organisations like Hamas, I would like to see them saying those things in the open so that we know where they are. Ultimately, if we start to ban different phrases, if we start to tell people that it is illegal to say different things, they are going to continue to talk about these ideas underground and unchallenged. I think it's incredibly important that we allow the fundamental right to freedom of expression, whether we agree with those opinions or not. And I would like to see the right to protest be used across the board. Now, the Metropolitan Police have also put out a statement calling out for effectively the individuals that are going to those protests to not support terrorist organisations. What they have said, though, is that they do have the right to protest and they do have the right to call out for these particular phrases. Now, this particular phrase, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, can be interpreted in many, many different ways. But ultimately, if we're going to be banning language, we're going to descend into a slippery slope of authoritarianism. So, Leo, I'm particularly interested in what your perspective might be on this. Do you think that there should be a limit to free speech?
Well, of course there have to be limits to free speech. I mean, I'm a big advocate of free speech, but free speech can't be absolute. You can't have jihadis on the streets of London calling for murder, calling for the genocide of Jews, and really saying it, really having an impact. People are going out there and committing terrorist atrocities. We saw just a few days ago a guy in Belgium driving around on his moped shouting Allah Akbar and then murdering Swedish football fans. So this is real world stuff. This isn't some academic discussion. So obviously we need to limit freedom of speech. And I'm fine. You know, these people can have their rallies and their protests and wave their ISIS flags, but do it in the Muslim world, do it in the Arab world. I think it's terrible that Britain has been so soft and allowed completely alien cultures that hate us and hate civilization and want to destroy us to take root and fester and grow.
Now, I mean, I would argue that it's not the culture that's doing that. It's actually there are a very small percentage of the population, of these individuals that might be attending these protests that would argue that Hamas are a fantastic organisation that are supporting the freedom of Palestine. Now, I think we have to call it out and say that's unequivocally wrong. And actually, many of those individuals would have their freedom of expression reduced. But ultimately, when we're arguing for free speech, it can't just be for ideas that we agree with.
No,
we have to do
but this goes beyond an idea. This is incitement to violence, and that's a crime. And I can't believe the Met Police are pussyfooting around and saying, "Oh no, the call to jihad can have several meanings." Well, none of them are good. No. It's not like jihad can sometimes mean a cup of tea.
Actually, I will say, and I mean, I'm somebody that grew up in a sort of Muslim family, Muslim household. The word jihad itself does not necessarily mean terrorism. It actually means my struggle. Now, of course, that has been
Hitler. Hitler had the same.
Well, indeed. Now, it has again been taken by various individuals, and various different organisations have taken it to mean many things. I think investigations are perfectly reasonable into people that use the phrase because of the way it's been defined. I mean, Albie, what's your perspective?
Well, look, I think my perspective is I think it's completely inappropriate for people to be shouting the chant from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free. You know, I think most people interpret that as the Israeli state should be wiped off the face of the world. Because that is what it means
Okay,
to many people.
let's break it down.
That's literally what it means.
When you listen to Jews who explain what it means, that is what they say, and I trust them when that is what they are saying. But what I will say is, where I do agree with you, is where people that are calling for the protests themselves to be banned. I mean, that's complete nonsense. Of course, you can't be banning people protesting for the freedom of Palestine, or people protesting because they think what is going on in Gaza and the humanitarian crisis and there is unacceptable. It is unacceptable.
Reem, I just want to test how far you'll go with this, because I think we've got a video from London's Tube today in which there was a chant said. So let's have a listen and a watch of that.
Free Palestine! Hope you will have a blessed day today. Look after yourselves. Give a big shout out to everybody.
So this is interesting because...
Should he be sacked?
So this is interesting again. I do think that it's inappropriate for a public servant, somebody that's being paid by taxpayer money, to be entering into political discussions. Now, I don't know if you guys saw on the video, he used the tannoid to talk about Palestine being free. Again, that is inappropriate because it's a public sector figure, a train driver utilising the power that he has on the train to advocate for something political. I think that's wrong.
Especially when you think about the history of Jews and trains, I think it's the worst place you can possibly do it.
Well, I mean, Benjamin, surely this is just, for British Jews, they're saying, I don't think I can live in Sadiq Khan's London anymore.
I mean, look, I think one random tube driver isn't reflective of the mayor or of the city. But look, you know, Reem, I'm sure lots of people were cheering you on in that. All of them terrorists, I suspect. You know what? It is incredibly naive.
Every protester in London was a terrorist.
No, but the people that would be supporting the right to shout jihad and to ban the state of Israel and to insult the existence of Jews, those are the people that you're supporting. And the thing is, you don't seem to recognise that there is no perfect form of freedom. There is no pure freedom. You have to manage it. So the reason that somebody couldn't stand in the street and shout racist abuse at Albie, that wouldn't be acceptable because that would take away his freedom to go about his life on a basic level.
Absolutely not.
And that's what these people, that's what these people are doing, because they are shouting abuse that means an average Jewish person just trying to go about their lives, or an Israeli person trying to go about their lives, is threatened and unable to feel safe.
Okay.
And that is where the line is.
So let's talk about this particular phraseology that I mentioned in the introduction. Palestine will be free, and this idea that it's from the river to the sea. Now, from the river to the sea, we're talking about a geographic area. Palestine will be free. Where in that is there an advocation for genocide, or an advocation for the annihilation of Jewish people?
I just think you're incredibly naive. You know, all these people hate Jews, and you are defending their right to shout that on the streets of London. I think that's disgraceful.
I know, because I'm arguing.
Reem, you sound like someone from Novara Media, not the IEA.
I believe in freedom for everyone, not just for people
that
are
on limits. There are limits to free speech, Reem. You must accept that there are limits to free speech. We have libel laws in this country. We have anti-hate incitement laws in this country, and it is right that they're enforced, isn't it?
I believe that every individual in this country has the right to freedom of expression so long as they are not inciting violence to other people.
But that's exactly what these people are doing.
No, they're not. There is nothing in that phraseology.
When they say that Israel shouldn't exist, when they talk about paragliders that attacked the Jews and they celebrate that, are those free speech?
Saying the state of you can be anti-Zionist and not be anti-Semitic.
Reem, we're going to have to move on now. It's been a very heated debate.